The problem, in my opinion, is Treasuries and the Fed. The Fed is going loco, and there's no reason for them to do it, and I'm not happy about it.
I think the Fed is making a mistake. They're so tight. I think the Fed has gone crazy.
I'm paying interest at a high rate because of our Fed, and I'd like our Fed not to be so aggressive because I think they're making a big mistake.
It's a correction that I think is caused by the Federal Reserve with interest rates. And I think the Fed is out of control. I think what they're doing is wrong.
All right, here's the thing. And a lot of people are of that view that, the Fed is overdoing it. But the president is at odds with himself, the views that he took when he was running for president. I want to go sort of back in time a couple of years. Take a look. That did raise some eyebrows when you essentially said she does Barack Obama's bid.
Well, I think she's very political, and she's not supposed to be political. And that's not the way it's supposed to work, as you know better than perhaps even me. So, but that's the way I think it is working.
Under the Obama administration, you had a lot of help because they had very little interest.
When President Obama had an economy it was the worst comeback since the Great Depression and all that. You've all heard that. But remember, he was playing with zero interest money. He was playing with funny money. That's easy. I'm playing with fairly expensive money.
I think the Fed is being totally controlled politically. They're not raising rates, and they're being controlled politically.
All right, so which is it? Obviously, running for president and arguing that the Federal Reserve is keeping the natural order of rates that should have been a lot higher. His argument back then doesn't apply right now. That would not be the first time someone who ran for president takes a different view once he is president. Charlie Gasparino on that. What do you think?
I'm just waiting for him to come up with a nickname for Powell, right? Jerome's a jerk.
I don't think he'll go there. He did kind of call the Fed loco, though, right?
He went after him.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, we should point out he's not the first president or political person to disagree with the Fed. Although Ronald Reagan famously supported Paul Volcker when he kept interest rates really high during his first year in office.
And by the way, Volcker was raising them 1 full percentage
we're talking about
at a time.
We're talking about massive. We had a different economic.
Very much
we had
so.
stagflation back then. Now
he was getting anxious about it,
right.
But he didn't say anything.
See, here's the problem that I think President Trump has. He's got a two-pronged problem. Number one, the Fed has a balance sheet of assets it bought during the financial crisis. Right. That in order to make sure that our dollar is worth $1 in the eyes of the world, the Fed just can't keep a huge balance sheet. It has to unwind that balance sheet to prove to the world that our dollar is based on something other than the Fed buying a currency.
I think the president, he's not a dummy with this. He knows all this. He just doesn't want to be fingered for the blame if everything goes south.
Maybe, but he's got two problems. He's got the Fed has to unwind its balance sheet. Right. They have to raise short-term rates a few times. And by the way, it's marginal. The balance sheet stuff is more because that affects the 10 and the 30-year bond, which has a big effect on the economy. And then he has one other thing. No matter how many times people around here inhale his smoke and believe this is the greatest economy ever, the economy will have to perform. If the economy does not perform as the greatest economy ever.
What do you mean, inhale his smoke? Who are you talking about?
Not you. Present company not included, but there are others. And they buy the notion, which hasn't showed up in the numbers yet, that this is the greatest economy ever. And if it's not, we don't.
Isn't better than the Romans? Like ancient Rome? Are you kidding me?
Yes, it might be better than the Mesopotamians too.
Right. But don't get me started on the atrocities.
Yeah, the atrocities. Right. But if, by the way, they're Italians, early Italians.
Yes, right. Brought us marinara.
Yes, of course. So if it doesn't sustain that 4% growth, we're going to get higher deficits. If we get higher deficits, we're going to have higher interest rates on top of the Fed unwinding. That's why the markets are acting crazy right now. They're worried about that a little. That doesn't mean it's going to happen, but they are worried. And by the way, doesn't matter how many political or news commentators believe that Donald Trump is the greatest economic mastermind ever. The markets.
Getting a tweet on you from the president.
The markets,
Charlie
Neil,
is sad and a loser.
Neil, the markets have to believe it.
Now, let me ask you this.
And they're not totally on board yet.
Riddle me this, Batman. We're now at session lows here. We're up all of 52.
Yeah. You said there was a bad consumer confidence. I saw a headline.
Well, no, disappointing. Didn't come out as strong as that. And also Ford confirming that its sales in China fell 43% in September.
Right.
But let me ask you about it. If we were to be down today, after being up more than 400 points, I cannot imagine going into the weekend that's a good development.
Maybe not, but I still think just longer term, I think this is still a strong economy. I mean, I'm just telling you, it's still for the long term.
I think you're right. Fundamentals, all that fine. But would you worry going into a weekend that it unraveled like that?
No.
Yes or no?
No.
Okay, fine.
No, because I think there are so many I'm putting out there long-term worries. Economy, GDP has to grow to pay down the deficit. We're going to have to unwind the Fed's balance sheet. You're going to have some higher short-term rates. If all those things and if we don't grow the economy enough, those other stuff is going to add to the problem. And no matter how many times you beat up on Jerome is a jerk, it won't matter because he's stuck with it.
Well, he is. He can't fire him, right? He can, but he's not going to do that. That's 1,000 points in the Dow right there.
I don't know. Okay. Knowing Donald, he might fire him.
All right, we'll see. Charlie, thank you. Always good seeing you.
Thank you. I'll be fielding questions on Twitter right now.
Oh, please. You're going to be getting
people with a lot of MAGA
deplorables.
You're going to be getting them now.
You're going to be getting them now.